So some of the points of yesterday. Consciousness never comes in contact with the objects. Without an external object, there will be no false appearance. Without external object, there will be no false appearance. Brahma we call, or say appearance, delusion. Therefore, consciousness is not born, nor a thing perceived by it born. Consciousness also is not born, and the thing perceived by consciousness also is not born. Then, birth and perceptibility will not be there, but the dualist thinks that there is birth for consciousness. Dualist thinks. He may as well see forth. No, sorry, it is not dualist, it is idealist. But the idealist thinks that there is birth for consciousness. He may as well see footprints of birds in the sky. Those who accept outside objects are refuted by idealists, and he is refuted by Vedantin. Then what to talk of philosophy of void? They want to seize the sky by hands, which is not possible, so they are also refuted. So, the refutation of Buddhists is over. Now, I think only refutation of the dualist. This is another type of dualist who says that both are real. The absolute is real as well as the relative also, little that side. So now he says, page number 489. From the reasons already cited, it becomes established that Brahman is unborn and is one. Now follows the verse with a view to summing up the result of what was put forward in the beginning as proposition. He says, Vijnanasya kshanikatvam na sambhavati. That is, the idealist, if he says it is momentary, it is not possible, then what is that one real thing? He is asking. That for that he says, Ajatam jayate yasmat ajati prakritis tataha prakriter anyatha bhavo na khatanchit bhavishyati. Since it is the birthless that is born in the view of the disputants. Birthless is born in the view of disputants, not from the view of Vedanta. So, birthlessness is its nature. Hence, deviation from this nature can happen in no way whatsoever. Prakriter anyatha bhavo na katanchit bhavishyati. Why? The unborn consciousness, which is Brahman itself, is imagined to be born by disputants. Unborn, they say. Therefore, unborn is born inasmuch as birthlessness is its nature. So if you say it is by nature, it is birthlessness. Hence, no deviation from this nature, which is birthless, can happen in any way whatsoever. This is the meaning of the Karika. Now, we are taking sub-commentary.
Without being the Vijnanavadis.
Idealist.
I may be mistaken, Swamiji, but I think they also believe in the momentariness of consciousness.
Yes.
They believe that consciousness is momentary.
Momentary.
And they believe that one moment of consciousness is the cause of the next moment of
Yes, yes.
consciousness. Like this they believe.
Mm.
This is one thing.
Mm.
The other thing is they don't believe in Atman.
They don't believe, yes, mind only.
Mind only. So they believe in mind.
And they say it is continuous because one is having the contact with the other moment.
Yes. But we have seen in the previous karika, again, there is a little difficulty with the word chitta.
What?
There is a little difficulty with the word chitta.
Chitta. Yes, yes.
Why? Because, and I have seen this also in the English translation of good translators. Some of the translators, in those verses which represent the view of the Vijnanavadi, they translate chitta as mind. While other translators, like Panoli, like Medhananda and so on, they translate it as
Consciousness.
Then, of course, Anandagiri says that chitta here means spurnam.
Spuranam.
And then, in relation to the Karika 47, he says chitta is Chaitanya, is Brahman.
Yes.
But the difficulty here, Swamiji, is because of the view of the Vijnanavadis. Because Vijnanavadis do not accept Atman. They do not accept Brahman. They only accept mind.
Yes.
And they accept momentary consciousness. So, because these karikas are talking about the view of the Vijnanavadis, the question comes again. The word chitta here refers
To mind or consciousness?
to mind or consciousness.
So, now, because he is not accepting the consciousness, from his view, we can say chitta as only mind, from Vijnanavadi. But difficulty comes while explaining the Panoli and others. They write chitta as consciousness. That in which karika it has come? 26. So, now whether to accept the translation of Panoli or we have to accept the follower of idealist. And then how to reconcile? That will be the question. So, we have to take, even though Panoli says this is consciousness, we can take it as mind. So, mind in one moment cannot create anything, cannot experience anything, or it cannot stay. So in that way, though we take the support of the idealist, we can easily refute him. But if you take that as consciousness, then he says, is not in contact with objects, nor it is in contact with the appearances of objects. There the idealist says, momentary, there is no creation, there is no sustenance, because in 1 second it is taking birth and immediately it is dissolving. Then he says no experience, no remembrance, because experience and remembrance depends on the mind only. Consciousness has nothing to do with that. So, if you take their view, it is mind. But if we see the translation, yes, it is consciousness, then we have to take the support of the scriptures and say the consciousness is not having any contact with even the mind. Let him tell it is single movement or whatever it may be. It is, according to the scriptures, it is only the real thing, it is always there, and it is eternal, and it is in no way having contact with anything. So, now, because we are refuting the idealist, we have to take his idea and refute. Not that you see, your consciousness is always eternal, so you cannot say it is not like that. We have to take the argument of the idealist. He says it is mind. So, in one thing you cannot remember, in one moment you cannot remember anything, and the existence also you cannot see. Then he says, as a flow. As a flow means, this is connecting that. He says, how there will be connection? In one moment, he says, it is taking birth and it is dissolved. When in the very one moment it is dissolved, how can it have the connection with the second moment? So it is not possible. So here, when we want to refute, we have to take the idea of the idealist. But when we take the support of the scriptures and the translation of Panoli, etc., then we have to tell it is consciousness. It is in no way connected with the mind or anything. I think and see, whatever they are telling, that we have to digest. We should not tell anything from our side. If Panoli says it is consciousness, also consciousness. Then how to reconcile? And if the idealist says it is momentary, it is mind, accept it is mind. And how to contradict? So this much we have to know. And finally now he is going to tell you, see, this is just to contradict them. And he says, even there is no realization. Everybody want to realize, they want to get away from the bondage. Then he says, if you take realization as an existing thing, then duality will be coming. So what is the use of such a long talk of non-dualism? Everything goes wrong. That's why now all the things will come. Today the topic is very light. You will not be head will not be real, and easily you can understand. Why? Because everything has been already told in Vaityathya Prakarana. That again he is repeating here. So this is my idea, Swamiji, how you take? Because we wanted to refute, we have to take his idea. And if you take the idea of others, when they translate as consciousness, and I think subcommentator also told, subcommentator is Spurana. Spurana will not be there without consciousness. So he is also accepting the consciousness. Spurana means a feeling or say emotion, or the feeling existence. So that also comes to the consciousness only. If we take that as consciousness, then we have to tell it is not having contact with anything in the mind. And you are not accepting the consciousness, you are accepting only the mind, so you are refuted. So what is that one real thing? He says ajatam. It is not having birth. Then he says prakriti. Nature cannot change. That he says we have explained this one, he says, prakriti. Hence the deviation from this nature can happen in no way whatsoever. The deviation from the nature, he says, the fire is always hot, or it gives heat, and it is never cold. So, now a logician has come, if he says, I consider fire as an element. All right, of the 5 elements we to consider. But he says the fire is cold because it is an element like water. Logic is quite correct. See, fire is cold because it is an element like water. Water is cold. Or it is wet. Then what you are going to do? How you will refute? You see, your logic will not hold good in direct perception. We have to take him to the fire and put the hand in the fire, and we have to say, fire is cold because it is an element like water. Do you accept? Is this one? No. Then your logic is not correct. So, here, you see, the nature of an object will not change. Fire is hot, it is always hot. These things we have already discussed, he says. Samsiddhiki, that is, after gaining the powers by practice of yoga, he says that because he is having so many powers, it will not be changing. And water is going down only. Even if you put water here, it will not go above. So, it is having that particular nature in itself. And birds, as soon as they hatch, they start. And you see, even in the cows, it just takes birth. Just after, say, few minutes, it stands and starts drinking milk. Just now it has born and they started taking milk. And taking milk, the cowherd may put the milking, what you call, the udder, into the mouth of the calf. All right. But where from the impression has come to suck? That means samskara is there. So in this way, that is its nature. And now you take a monkey, immediately start sucking milk. The sucking capacity is an impression that it has not come in this particular life. It has been there. So, that is the nature of babies, children, all these things. So, that is the nature How can it they change? As soon as they take birth, they start sucking. So that is the nature. Now that's why he says, the nature cannot be changed. And there he told, the empirical things are not changing their nature. What to talk of the all-pervading consciousness? How can you say it is changing? That's why he says, giving the meaning of this sloka, Brahman is changeless, partless, kutastha. And this has been told, and its birth is not possible. For that reasons, for the reasons are given already. These all reasons, it is partless, it is changeless, it is birthless. All these reasons we have already explained. What is proved to tell its meaning? The present sloka is presented, it says. What we have already proved, that again we are telling here in this sloka. Then he says ajatam. The consciousness is only now, he says, what is this consciousness? He says this consciousness is nothing but the feeling of existence in the individuals. I am existing. That itself is consciousness. So, it is birthless. This existence, now you break a part. First you say, part is existing. And you have broken the part. Where the existence has gone? Has it gone away? But you will see in the next part. So, this existence, knowledge, and happiness are a bliss. You cannot take out from anything. You say a thing is destroyed.
What you just said is in the sub-commentary?
Yes. Yes. So, these things we do say, a thing is destroyed. What do you mean by destruction? Name and forms are destroyed. But these things, the existence, knowledge, and happiness are bliss, will never change. You take anything in the world, name and forms are changing. That's why we need not take the support of Vedanta to tell that world is unreal. Even if you go to physics, they say a changing thing is not permanent. And if you ask, say, these scientists, what they say, where from the energy has come? He says it is changing from one thing to another, one thing to another. And he himself says changing thing is not permanent. Then how can we accept the reality of the world? Even without taking the support of Vedanta or the scriptures, just from the scientific view, we can very easily prove that the world is unreal. But they don't accept. They don't accept. That though they say energy is always there, they say. And where from the energy has come? Can you produce it in the laboratory? No. Then it is some power is there. That you tell energy and we tell God, that's all difference. Power of God we say. How this is in the atoms, electrons are there, they are moving, going around. Who made them to go in their orbits? As it is in an atom, So in the world, sun is in the middle and all the planets are rotating in their orbit. Somebody should be there, rotator. But he simply says it is energy. Then what about energy? Can you produce it? No. And what is energy? It is changing. Previously they have the equation, you see, E is equal to mc square. Mass plus velocity square something. But now I think they have changed the equation. What is energy? Mass into velocity square. They used to say something like E is equal to mc square something. But so what he says? Energy is changing. We say, yes, energy is there. It is changeless. It is consciousness. And the changing, as you say, it is not real. We also say the changing thing is not real. Only energy is there. That is making, that has just in the vital force form, it is rotating all the orbits. You say energy, we say prana. And if you take the support of prana, your mind is controlled. If you take the support of energy, mind is more disturbed. Because you are going out. Oh, all these things will be there. That is why we say that one has to take the support of the scriptures, no other go. If you want to have the highest peace, if you want to control the mind, if you want to have the highest happiness, no difficulties, no sorrow, no stress, then you have to come to the scriptures. No other go. You have to take the support. You read the scriptures and take its support, or you hear from somebody, you take the support, but you have to follow the scriptural injunctions or say teachings. That's why he says, Prakriti, it is not changing, he says. Consciousness is nothing but feeling the existence, and it is birthless, that we call Brahman, changeless, it is kutastha, homogeneous, ekarasa. And it cannot take birth from anything. It cannot take birth from anything. The moment you say it is taking birth, it should have death. Jata se dhruva mutyu dhruvam jamna mutasecha. Through illusion seems to be born. Through illusion, through ignorance, through maya, as if it has taken a birth. So, after reading scripture so much, we know well that only the combination of the elements are the body. And consciousness is not taking any birth. That is the only thing which is real. In reality, no birth. So, that is the nature of that consciousness. Now, he is explaining the second line, ajatam et chittam brahmaiva jayate. Again, he says chitta means your consciousness. The unborn consciousness, which is Brahman itself, is imagined to be born by the disputants. Why they have become the disputants? Because for a birthless thing, they are accepting the birth, that's all. Therefore, Vadivihi parikalpate tadajatam jayate esmad ajati prakritistasya. The unborn is born is as much as birthlessness is its nature. But what the disputants say, it has taken a birth. And so no deviation from this nature, which is birthless, can happen in any way whatsoever. Ajata rupa prakriti anyatha bhavo janma na kathanchit bhavishyati. And if you say that it is changing, then it will be losing its own form, Swarupa. You cannot say it is real, you cannot say it is eternal, you cannot say it is bliss absolute, because it is changing. So, he says, it is not changing. It is changeless. That is the reality. For that, he is giving another reason. It is changeless. It is reality. Even in day-to-day life, we see those who are not practicing the spiritual practices, their nature does not change. Their nature never changes. If he is a thief in the beginning, even after released from the jail, again he will go and, because it's nature. Very difficult to change. That's why even for the aspirants, those who want a change in their nature, if God is gracious, some master will come to him to teach, or he will go to a particular master and he gets the teaching, and the nature can be changed. So, the previously also I have discussed. What I have discussed? There is a book by Thomas A. Kempis. Thomas A. Kempis, Imitation of Christ. Is it not? So, in that he says, the renunciation which you are having when you left home, even if in that 50% remains, you can have some progress, otherwise there will be no progress, he says. The renunciation which you had when you left home, then in that, even if 50% is continuing, then if progress will be there, otherwise, if renunciation is not there, no progress. Another thing he says, we can take in both the ways. The more you are confined to your own cell, the more progress you will find, he says. Cell in the sense, your own room or your own Atma. The more you are, the more you stay in your own cell, it will be so much beneficial to you. So here we can take the meaning in both the ways. Whenever you come out of the room, some work you take up. And you should be having contact with so many people. And some disturbances will be there. But you say, see, though I come out and I work, I am working with an unselfish motive. You may say, but it is not possible while working for many of us. You say, I am working without any selfish motive. You may say, but you forget while working your nature and you get attached to the work, attached to other things. And though you say from your mouth, in the heart you can feel that you are attached to the work so much and your ego will be fattening. And what is the ego? That day Swamiji was telling, I am a spiritual aspirant. I am doing more practices. That is also the ego. And these things are very, very subtle. Though we possess them, we will not understand them. The outside things like anger and lust you may give up. But these things are still subtler. That is, that I am a good aspirant. I am doing all the practices perfectly. I am doing, and for everything this I will be following. And here this says, all the saints says, as long as that I is there, you will not realize anything. But whenever you say, I am a good aspirant, I am working unselfishly, I will be coming. And when that I is there in a subtle form or in a gross form, how can you say you have realized? So, while working, no doubt, you may be doing so much of practices, but the ego will be creeping and creeping inside you. No other go. Because you forget that your nature. That's why he is telling here, reality for that is giving another reason. So, we should not forget these things. Atman is changeless. It is only the real thing. It is not changing. I am one with that. But as soon as we start work, we forget. Sri Krishna took a vow. What vow? In the war he said, I will not touch any weapon. But when after 13th day, Bhishma, he wanted to kill. He took the Sudarshan, ran. Are, your Lord, you have taken the vow, and how you ran to kill Bhishma? See, and Arjuna holds his legs and begs pardon and brings him back. Now, how you do explain this? There, Bhishma says, I will make Krishna to hold a weapon. He says, I will not hold a weapon. Now, how you will explain? You have to say, he is more compassionate towards the devotees. That's why he has gave up his own vow. Or when the moments are coming, he is attached to the body also. See, he wanted to protect Arjuna and wanted to kill Bhishma. That's why we can say he got some body consciousness. How do you explain these things? Whether you say he is having compassion towards the devotees, that is also correct. He is having some body consciousness, that's why he forgot, he got angry. He went to kill Bhishma. What I mean to say is, even when we are practicing, that this body consciousness, it will creep. That's why Sri Krishna says, Kleshodika starastesham avyakta sakta. If you are having the body consciousness, practicing the oneness, only Brahman is real, is not possible. You have to face, because you have to face so many difficulties, he says. At each and every moment, you have to face the difficulties. Having the I-ness. So now he says, Anader antavattam cha samsarasya na seshyati. Anantata cha adimato mokshasya na bhavishyati. Now you see, he is refuting even realization. If transmigratory existence be beginningless, its termination will not be reached. Anader antavatvam cha samsarasya naseshyati. If you say it is not having any beginning, this world, then it cannot end also. It is beginningless. Transmigratory existence be beginningless, its termination will not be reached. Because you are telling it is anadi, no starting. Anantata cha adimato mokshasya na bhavishyati. And liberation will not be eternal if it is as a beginning. If you say, I want to be released, bas, gone. The liberation will not be eternal if it is having a beginning. That means you are accepting the world, you are accepting the bondage, then only you are telling, I want to get liberation. So, all Vedanta has gone out. So far, this Vaithatya Prakarana, he told world is not real. And what you are telling, the moment you say, I want liberation, no Vedanta. You are in the world, you are in duality. That's why in Brihadaranyaka he asks, what is the power of this Atman, where it stays? He says it is staying in its own self, Sve Mahimani. So, if you want to be a perfect Vedantin, you should stay in your own self all the 24 hours. That's all. The moment you open your mouth, the moment you start doing some work, without your knowledge, I will be entering. You need not invite it. You need not casual it. Even if you say no, it will come. Dhyiness. Because the moment we start the work, we get identified with our bodies. We get identified with our bodies. Now, vimatam samsaro na antavan anadi bhavatvat. Now the opponent is putting a question. You say, this world, it is transmigratory, it is changing, it is not real. But I say it is real. The opponent is telling, you say it is not real, I say it is real. Why? Vimatam samsaraha. This is paksha. This is called where you want to prove something. Na antavan. What you want to prove? He says, it is not having the end. Anadi bhavatvat. Atma. No, this is from the proponent. He says, no, samsaro na antavan anadi bhavatvat atma. This is opponent. Because he says, na antavan. Now, if you take here the world you are telling is eternal. Why? Because it is no beginning. Just like the self. Then how two things can be there? One the world and another Atma. You are giving the illustration of the Atman. And what you are telling, the world is eternal. How can it go together? World is also eternal, Atma also is eternal. So the logic put by the opponent is not correct. Huh? What we say, the world is not there. Jagrata avastha mithya. It is not there. World is not there. Because of your ignorance you are seeing. But he says the world is beginningless. That's why it is eternal, it is there. As Atman. The illustration is giving as the consciousness of the Atman. We do agree the illustration, but we do not agree what you want to prove. Again he says, why I told you in the beginning, he is a dualist. He is a dualist. That's why he says, this world also is eternal, that God also is eternal. That's why he is giving this one. So, he is a opponent for the Vedanti proponent. Moksho anantaha na bhavatve sati adimatvad ghatavat. Now again he is telling, he says, the liberation is eternal and it is not a substance, but he says it is having a beginning. There he has failed. It is having a beginning. The liberation is having a beginning. And what illustration he says? Just like a pot. Pot was not there, it is manifested. So in the same way, this liberation is having a beginning and it is not a substance. The moment you say it is having the beginning, you have to refute it. That's why he says, Anantata cha adimato bhokshasya na bhavishyati. What is the result? Liberation will not be eternal if it is having a beginning. But what the opponent says? He says it is having a beginning. So, the moment you say, I want liberation, I want to get liberated, but you are not a Vedanta, perfect Vedanta. You have come into dualism, duality.
What is liberation for that dualist? What does it mean for him?
He says it is eternal, it is real.
But it's spiritual liberation?
But liberation, spiritual liberation. See, actually, here, the Gaudapada Acharya wanted to prove only one thing is there. And he says, it has not taken birth, ajata. Then one thing is there, when it has not taken the birth, how can you bring another fellow? What you call liberation? Then, if you say liberation, from what liberation? And where from liberation? How to get liberation? All these things will come. That's why the opponent says, I accept this as well as that. I am accepting the world as real and the God also as real. I am a dualist. How two things can be real? That Gaudapada says. How two things can be real? Again you read the meaning. If transmigratory existence be beginningless, its termination will not be reached. If you say something is beginningless, it is always there. Because it has not started, no birth. So it will be present always. And liberation will not be eternal if it has a beginning. If you say it is beginning, it will not be eternal. That he wanted to prove. I am cha. I am cha. I am cha apara atmana samsara mokshayo paramat sadbhava vadinam dosha uchyate. Here another defect is pointed out in the views of disputants who hold that both bondage and liberation of the soul are real. Liberation also is real, bondage also is real. If bondage is not real, then there will be no liberation. That is the fact. Now we'll go to the English commentary. Of the transmigratory existence, which has no beginning, devoid of bounds in the past, termination will not be reached through any reasoning. For, in common parlance, a thing that has no beginning is not seen to have an end. If a thing is not started, then it is not having end. Only that's why Sri Krishna says, Jatasya dhruva mrityu. If one has taken the birth, means he has to die. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha. And if one passes away, then again birth will be there for ordinary people. If it is held that there is a break, even for a realized person, you say, you may call Jivan Mukta, or you may call him a Videha Mukta. For Jivan Mukti, Prarabdha is the obstacle. No, for Videha Mukti, Prarabdha is the obstacle. Because he has to undergo complete Prarabdha, though realized. For Videha Mukti, Prarabdha is the obstacle. Why? Even after getting Jivan Mukta, to get the Videha Mukta, he should live for some time.
So for the Jivan Mukta, Prarabdha is the obstacle.
Videha Mukta.
Because even after
After-
Mukta, his body will sustain, his body will remain due to the Prarabdha.
Afterwards only he will be getting Videha Mukti, when Prarabdha ends.
Right. So in the Vidya Mukti,
What I am telling, for Videha Mukti, Prarabdha is the obstacle. So, like the same thing, now here you see, he says, if birth is there, death will be there. That's why I am telling, even for a realized person, see, because he has taken the birth of a body, he has to leave the body. Then only he will be getting Videha Mukti. You say that he is Jivan Mukta, you say, but we see his body. One day or other he has to leave his body, or the body will go away by itself. Oh, what is birth? Birth of a body and death of a body, but not the eternal self. That is why, because it is eternal, it is always there, and it is not having any birth. That's why no moksha to anybody. Everybody is liberated, he says. Everybody is in liberation only. So wrongly he is thinking, I am in bondage. I should be liberated. Hari, you are Atman. Brahma yusan Brahma pyeti. That's why our 10th pontiff used to scold. If some devotee comes and says, Swamiji, can I get liberation in this life? A fool number one. You are Atman. Atman is always liberated. Why you say? Why you get attached to the body and say that, can I get liberation? So, and he was never able to bear that if somebody comes and asks, Are you keeping well? Are you well? Never ask any Swamiji. We are swastha. Swastha means keeping well. What swastha? Swa Atma. We are residing in the Atman. Again you come and ask, are you all right? We are already all right. Huh? But you ask, so you used to get angry if somebody asks about him.
Swamiji, on this subject,
Huh.
we say avidya is anadi,
Huh.
but it does have an end. We also
Yes, yes.
say. So there is an apparent contradiction. Apparent contradiction.
Apparent contradiction. Because you see, now who says that I am ignorant, or I want to get liberation, I want to be liberated, when he experiences this self, then there is no more ignorance for him. From his side. That's why he says, in the relative plane, the ignorance is anadi, beginningless, and it ends from the relative plane. But here the Gaudapada is telling from the absolute standpoint, no liberation, no ignorance, no duality, only one thing. And that has not taken the birth. If somebody takes the birth, then he says, I am ignorant, I want to get liberated. So simply he says, for Atman there is no birth at all. What to talk of anything else? That's why he says Ajatavada. The moment you ask something, he immediately jumps to the absolute. Only one Atman is there. No world, no birth, no death. That only one thing he wanted to prove, is it not? So, when we say anadi, we have already come down to the relative plane. If it is held that there is a break in the continued relationship between the seed and the sprout, although it is beginningless, it is not so, since it has been rejected on the ground that the seed and the sprout cannot be treated as a single substance. If from a particular seed, particular sprout is coming. But the second sprout, for that second seed is there. So you cannot say it is from the species, taking the support of the species, all the seeds are having a particular jati or race, and all the sprouts are having a, you can tell from the seed sprout is coming. But that we have already refuted, taking a single seed and a single sprout. For now another thing you see, seed has a sprout. And from the same seed, another sprout will not come. Because the seed has transformed into the sprout. Now where from you will get that seed? That's why we have to take the species, race. A race that is called seeds. And the race sprouts. So we cannot prove this seed and sprout in particular, in the individuals. That he says. That which exists before cannot end. Now he says, the Atman is always there. How can it end? This is answered because of the universal accompaniment He says, existence is there in the Atman. Existence is there, Spurana, what you call, it is there. The real, the seed and the sprout also has no beginning. Now the opponent is telling, is also not beginning. Our succession is there. No, it gets destroyed. After the destruction of the seed alone, you will get the sprout. So you cannot say they are not destroyed, they are eternal. That has been seen. So a fault is there. Anaikantikata is there, he says. That is a fault. Sadhya sandeha janaka paksha dharmata. Now, you see, sadhya, he says the main word, sadhya. Four things we have to remember: paksha, sadhya, hetu, drishtanta. So, paksha is a doubt from the both the sides. And sadhya, that has to be proved, what you want to prove. Hetu, for that what reason you are giving. And then illustration. So, but illustration should be accepted by both. Then only you can prove the sadhya. That has to be proved. But here he says that you say the seed and sprout are eternal. That cannot be, because there is a fault. What is the fault? According to the logic, it is called anaikantikata. And what is anaikantikata? That is telling sadhya sandeha janaka paksha dharmata. Now, you wanted to prove seed and sprout are eternal. What do you want to prove? This much you take. What is the paksha? I say they are not eternal, you say it is eternal. What? The seed and sprout. What is that you want to prove? Eternality. But we say, what you want to prove that eternality is not there in the seed and sprout. That is called paksha. Sadhya sandeha janaka paksha anaikantikata. In Sanskrit. That means, what you want to prove, that cannot be proved because there is doubt in where you want to prove. That's why you are refuted. This is, in sub-commentary he says, anaikantikata. Major term to be proved, where you want to prove, there are qualities of paksha. You are telling the seed and sprout are eternal. But it is not eternal. So how can you prove? Sadhya is having the qualities of paksha. Eternality you are telling, but it is not eternal. The point of contradiction is seed and sprout are eternal, you say. What we say is not eternal. But what you want to prove? Eternality of the seed and sprout. So what we say, it is there, where you want to prove? It is not eternal. So you are refuted. This is putting the logical way. So, the succession is not unbroken, so cannot be refuted. Now he says, all right, seed and sprout, you are refuting. They are telling it is not eternal. The succession is eternal, one after another. Then he says, na eka vastu abhavena apodidatvad. The succession is due to the race, but not a particular thing. The succession of the same seed and same sprout cannot be there. The succession is depending on the race or species. That he told in the last sentence. It is not so, since it has been rejected on the ground that the seed and the sprout cannot be treated as a single substance. In the Karika, 20th, because there we have accepted jati, species. Now, anantata cha adimato mokshasya na bhavishyati. The liberation will not be eternal if it has a beginning. That point is taking to explain. Yatra adimatram tattva ananna anantatvam. That which is having a beginning cannot be eternal. First thing. And what example he has given? Just like the part. Moksho anantaha na bhavatvesati adimatvad ghatavat. This is the logic given by the opponent. What he told? The liberation is not eternal because it is not a substance. It is having a beginning just like a part. Part is having a beginning. But he says liberation is not like that a substance, but it is having a beginning. And if a beginning is there, then end also will be there. So how can you call it liberation? That he is discussing here. Even the part is made and destruction will be there. Now we see, in logic, they say, now a part is there, you have broken the part. So it is called ghatadvamsa, breaking a part. Breaking part is eternal, he says. It will be always there. Ghatadvamsa is there always, eternal. You have broken a part. So you are telling what is a part has been broken. This particular thing, that you have destroyed a thing, the destruction is eternal, he says. Logic. The destruction of part is eternal. So, bondage and liberation also eternal. By telling the destruction of a part is eternal. So, bondage and liberation also eternal. Then again coming to the duality. He says, bondage is eternal. This samsara also is eternal. And liberation also is eternal. God also is eternal. World also is eternal. How? As the destruction of a part. After breaking the part, the destruction of the part will be eternal. It will be there only. That is their theory, you see. Then he says, similarly, there will be no possibility of even liberation which dawns on the attainment of knowledge. If you say, I will be attaining knowledge and I will be liberated, no. Which has a beginning. To be eternal, for such is not the case with the jar or like that. Because a beginning thing can never have the eternality. If again it is held that since liberation is not a substance like a jar, which will undergo destruction, therefore the view already expressed is not defective, because the destruction of the part is eternal. That's why the duality is eternal, world is eternal, God is eternal. He says, then that will be a contradiction of the proposition presented by the opponents, that liberation has existence from the point of view of ultimate reality. See, he says, liberation has existence from the point of view of ultimate reality. What we say, ultimate reality is only one. So it has not taken birth. Then where from we are bringing this liberation? That's why, moreover, liberation will have no beginning. It being non-existent, like the horn of a hare. Now he says, no liberation. Why? If it is having a beginning, it will be having an end. Then, no birth, no liberation. You are already eternal. That's why he says, everybody is eternal. Everybody is already liberated. Na moksha, na bandha, na sadhaka, na cha sadhya. All these things he told. The moment you accept, duality will come. So, first you have to judge yourself. Are you talking of the relative world or of the absolute? Absolute means nothing talking, go home. Keep mum and go home. In the relative, you cannot bring the absolute. So, all the refutations will be only in the relative plane. Now again he is going to tell no master, no teaching, nothing. That also he will tell. In the world. In the absolute plane, only one Atman. It has not taken birth. Only one Brahman, one Atman. Absolute plane. The moment you talk something, it is relative plane.
The opponent refutes. He always has to do it in the relative.
And refutation also in the relative world only. So in the absolute plane, no proponent, no opponent. No master, no teacher, no disciple, no student. Even that some stotra it comes, you see, I am not having the body, I am not having anything. That day that girl also has chanted. Nirvana Sattva. So only one thing is there. Here, whatever we are discussing from the relative plane only. But he says, in the absolute plane, these things are not there. Mainly, no birth, no death. No liberation, no bondage. And a little further he goes, no practice. That is, of course, very difficult to digest. Slowly we will be getting. So if you say, as the breaking of the part, it is eternal. So the duality is also eternal, liberation is eternal, bondage is eternal. That's why we say this world is eternal and the God also is eternal. Then he says, you said it is eternal. You say it is eternal. So your vow will be broken. Pratignya hani. How? तथा च मोक्षस्य परमार्थ सद्भाव प्रतिज्ञानि. You say the liberation is eternal. And where from bondage has come from that? What you are saying? Bondage is eternal, liberation is eternal. Simply logic, you see. Nothing else is there here. And how he argues? The breaking of part, ghatadvamsa is eternal. All right, in the relative plane, if once a broken a part, that is the broken part, that it will be eternal, we do accept. But first what you say? That you are telling liberation is eternal. And where from the bondage has come? So, when you say you are breaking your own vow, two things cannot be eternal. Only one thing. So, only through argument we have to win over him. We have to win over. And also a thing is not there before manifesting, like Sasavishana, just like the horn of a hare, before a thing is not manifested. Sasavishana deva, prag asataha, and afterwards it becomes effect. Satta samavaye rupam. When a thing is not existing before, how can it take birth? When you say eternal, must keep quiet. Then don't say that is eternal, this is eternal, liberation is eternal. So much argument will not be there. That liberation will not be there. If you say it has taken the birth, then no liberation. Then how can you say the bondage is eternal and liberation is eternal? So, your argument is not correct. That is it. Now the same sloka is telling here, Adavante che yannasti vartamane pitattatha vitathai sadrisha santo avitatha eva lakshita. This he already told. Again that he is repeating here. This is Vaitatya Prakarana, 6 and 7 slokas. That saprayojanata tesham swapne prasajjate tasmad adyantavatven mithyeva galute smrutaha. Now the unreality, mithya, that is non-existent, that is proving. That which is non-existent in the beginning and is definitely so in the present. The objects, although similar to unreal, look though real. Adavante chennasti, which is not having a beginning and end, which is non-existent in the beginning and in the end. Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharat avyakta nidhanani tatra ka paridevana. Before birth you are not there, after death you will not be there. In the middle you are just seen, so you are not there now also as Atman. Body is not there. So why do you weep? In the same way, adavantecha, in the beginning of the birth and after the death, it is not there. So that is not there in the middle also. That is, before the birth of the body, body was not there. After the death, body will not be there. Nobody is going to keep the dead body. But in some places, they make a mummy. See? It is very strange that dead body they cover it and put some paste and they keep it. That they call mummy. And a living person, mother, you call mummy. That means you are already calling it dead. You make a dead body mummy and keep. And for a living person, mother, why don't you tell mother? Mummy. That means you are already dead. Like that, dad. Dead or dad? That means dad means already dead. You tell father, dear father, dad. That means you are dead. Mummy. Morning I was thinking, you see, when he says, there is no birth and death. And for living persons, you are using the wrong words. But they never realize this thing. From the absolute standpoint of, if you say Atman, what Swami Shivanji writes, blessed Atman. Like that you call blessed Atman. So, which is not there in the beginning and which is not there in the end, it will not be there in the middle also. Vitatai sadrusha santaha. They are as if unreal, but looks as though real for the ignorant. Lakshita. Lakshita by whom? Who is indicating the ignorant persons, they say, as if it is. Saprayojnata tesha swapne pratipadyate. Now, again the opponent comes. No. We are eating, we are sleeping, we are drinking. We feel so much happy in the waking state. Hare, now you tell me, you are having a waking state, you are having a dream state, you are having a sleeping state. So you are different from these states or you are one in these three states. What is your answer? You are one. So, if you are one, you are telling, in the waking state, I am getting so much of happiness. You are telling. But the same I is feeling so many difficulties in the dream state. Then what you see and what you say is not correct. Because I is the common. The same I is there in the dream state as well as in the waking state. The same I is in the sleeping state. Then why the experiences differ? The difference in the experience changing. So changing thing is not permanent. That which is not changing, that is. So, saprayojnata tesha swapne. Their utility is opposed in dream. Therefore, for the reasons of their having a beginning and end, they are definitely remembered to be unreal. Because they are having a beginning. And the whole happiness is within you. And why do you go outside? When hold the happiness, be within yourself. And be happy always. You see the children, they drink milk and be happy, sleep. No worry. Like that you always think of the Atman and be happy. That you cannot do. If you say 2 hours you meditate, half an hour you meditate and get up. No, some work I have to do. What work? Are you going to elevate the whole world? No. Then what work? As if the whole work of the whole world is on your head, you start working. That means we are not able to stick to our own self. Always thinking of Atman, staying in that. That's why he says, Asupte Ramrute Galam Nayed Vedanta Chintaya. As long as you live, as long as you go to sleep, think of Vedanta only. Their utility is opposed. Vaitathe Krita Vyakhyano Sloka Viva Samsara Moksha Abhava Prasangena Padito. What you want to tell here? There is no world, there is no realization. Bas. That we want. These two verses already explained in Vaitatya Prakarana are cited here in connection with the unreality of transmigration and liberation. Transmigration of the world, no liberation. So again here we are telling. But the subcommentator will be telling so many things here now. See, where from they get these thoughts, we don't know. The commentator wrote only this much. But he brings so many thoughts from the subcommentator. Then if we think that liberation is having a beginning, if you say, according to your view, that liberation is eternal and bondage is eternal. And if you say bondage, first liberation is there, bondage is there, then you are liberated. That means the liberation is having a beginning. That we are going to refute. He says, that which is not there before, it will not be there and afterwards also. Adavante chenna asti vartamane vitadata. Then he says how, like a mirage, water is not there in the beginning, in the middle, in the end. So, it is not there really, it is unreal. Similarity is in the beginning and the end, like a water in the mirage. Vimata mokshadayo na paramarthas santaha bhavitum arhanti adyantavatvat marichi udakadivat. Now this is the logic given by the proponent. What he says? You say the liberation is having a beginning. We say it is not having a beginning. Mokshadayo na paramartha santa bhavitum arhati. Adyantvatvad marichi udkajvat. That means you cannot even say that liberation is eternal. If you say that water is in the marriage, then who will accept? So, water is not there in the mirage, even in the beginning, even in the end, or in the before, afterwards. In the same way, no liberation in the beginning, no liberation in the middle, no liberation in the end. So, it has never started. You have to accept. Then how liberation is considered as eternal? Now he again is putting this. Some people are there, they say, avidithaiva lakshita, who looks with undiscrimination. Because of their undiscrimination, non-discrimination persons, they say the liberation is eternal. What we say, you are already liberated, you are Atman. If you consider that you are a body, that is left to you, not to us.
దీని గురించి బ్రహ్మసూత్రం అధ్యాయ భాష్యంలో చాలా బాగా రాశారు. నేను ఇప్పుడు అదే చదువుతున్నాను.
Who looks undiscriminating persons, the water of marriage cannot be used for bathing and drinking. But, so, for a undiscriminating person, what the example we gave? We gave the illustration of mirage. So, if somebody says that they wanted to drink the water and they want to bathe there, can he? He cannot. In the same way, here also. The undiscriminating ignorant people, simply says, two adjectives he says. Undiscriminating ignorant people, they see this world as real and they say the liberation is eternal, they say. What we say, only one thing, you are already liberated. No second thing. Not to tell anybody, not to talk with anybody. Who is there in that absolute? To tell and to talk and to know. Only one thing is there. Then he says, but heaven and liberation give happiness. In the relative world, he says, so many people do say, heaven and liberation will be giving happiness. So, liberation is not unreal. Then he says, now, we have to go to the, again, logic. The proponent says the liberation cannot be eternal because it is like water in the mirage. So liberation is not there. But what you say, happiness in the liberation is there. You are telling. That means the happiness that you feel in the heaven or that happiness I will be getting in liberation, telling so is not correct. That is nisprayojanatvam, that you are already happiness. That's why I gave the example of third pontiff. We are already in our own selves. We are quite happy, we are quite healthy. Why do you come and ask about this body? Are you keeping well? So he used to scold them and send them away. Never ask any Swami like this, he used to tell. So, if you say happiness is already within you, and again why do you say it is I will get happiness like heaven and liberation? It is not correct, he says. Saprayojanata. Now he is telling another. There is utility is there. In the waking state, using so many things, then he says their utility is opposite in dream. Therefore, for the reasons of their having a beginning and an end, they are definitely remembered to be unreal. Now again, he is taking the same karika from the Vaitratya Prakarana. He says, Sarve dharma mrusha swapne kayasyantar nidarsanat samvritte asmin pradeshe vai bhutanam darshanam kutaha. All objects are unreal in dream inasmuch as they are seen within the body. In this narrow space, how is the vision of creature possible? Our creatures possible? Now, he is taking the illustration of the dream. And what he told there, that as the dream is unreal, so the waking state also unreal. All right. But now, taking the illustration of the dream, what you say? It is inside the body, inside the nadi, you say. So, we are telling waking and dream are unreal. Or waking is unreal as the dream. Why? Because you are the seer. You are seeing the dream, you are seeing the waking, you are experiencing the sleep. So, you say it is all unreal. When you are the seer, you are seeing the dream inside the body, and you are saying it is unreal. So also, inside the body, which is Atman, which is consciousness, which is all-pervading, there cannot be the word. See how he refutes. How you are seeing the dream? With the consciousness of the Atman. Where you are seeing the dream? Inside the body. So you are the seer. What is that seer? It is the Atman. Atman is only consciousness, all-pervading, homogeneous. And in that, where from the world has come? So, taking the dream, there he says, the waking state is unreal. Now what he says here, there cannot be any waking state in the Atman. Atman is only consciousness, it is bliss. The reason given for proving the dream as unreality, the same reason is there for waking state. How the waking state? Because you are seeing the dream inside the body, you are telling it is unreal. And in the seer, the Atman, which is consciousness, which is all-pervading, which is bliss absolute, which is homogeneous, ekarasa. In that there is no word, bas. That is the argument. For waking state, the birthlessness are only knowledge. The same reason is there for waking state. The birthlessness, etc. are only, he says that there is no birth for the Atman. He says it is only the knowledge. So, we should know the reality. If you say the birthlessness of the Atman is the knowledge, what you say? Birthlessness of the Atman is a knowledge. So, don't worry about the knowledge. Try to experience the Atman. See, you say, now, as soon as you say knowledge and the known and knower will be there, tripity will be there, triad will be there. So, don't worry about the knowledge. Then what to do? Try to experience Atman. Everything will be all right. Since we see inside the body, dream is unreal. Then, as we see the dream and we say it is unreal, so the Virat, the Hiranyagarbha, the combination, everything is unreal in the Atman. Because only one Atman is there. Why? The Atman is the consciousness. And only because of the limiting adjunct, we say it is limited. But if you remove the adjunct, only one space, like that, one Atman. So when one Atman is all-pervading, In that, where from you are getting this world? That is the argument. Atman is homogeneous, so all things are unreal because of oneness of the Atman. I am Atma Brahma, so oneness of the Atman. Huh? And now, same argument he has taken here to prove again no world in the Atman. There is only told world is unreal. But here a little going ahead, that no world in the Atman. For the Atman, world is unreal. Here in Atman there is no world.
That Swamiji says that really says that the negation of the world is Atman.
No. He says Atman alone is there. Negation is not necessary, he says. How? Because you are seeing the dream. Dream is in a particular nadi, and you are telling it is not there. All right. Now, taking the same illustration, we say, take the Atman. That is Pratyak. It is inside you. You say, because dream is inside me, dream is not there. Now what we say, inside you Atman is there. It is homogeneous. It is all-pervading. I am Atma, Brahma. So, in that, no world, no Hiranyagarbha, no Virat, nothing is there. It alone is there. So, he has taken the illustration of dream. You know well because it is in a particular nadi. Nothing is there. In the same way, you need not negate here. Nothing is there in the Atman. But there in the 7th verse, he says, na pragyam, na prajnanagham, na bhaishpragyam. There he has negated. Here he is simply proving only one thing is there. All the slokas that are told now and that are to be told, Jatya Bhasam, etc., their meaning is told. There he says, Jatya Bhasam, where it has come, you have to see. That is in Karika 25th or so. Nimittasya animittatvam ishyate bhuta darsanat iti ayam artha prapanchate yete slokai. By these verses, the idea contained in, but from the point of view of reality, external cause is regarded as no cause. That is being explained. Nimittasya animittatvam. That means, from the point of view of reality, there is the external cause is regarded as no cause. Nimittasya animittatvam. What is external cause? World. For that also there is no cause. That is saying, na yuktam darshanam gatva kalasya animat gatau pradibuddhasya vai sarvas tasmin deshe na vidyate. This he has given in the Vaithatya Prakarana to prove that dream is not there. Na yuktam darshanam gatva. The dreaming person is not going to that particular place where he is seeing the dream. That means, dreaming person, from here we say he has gone to London. But when he wakes up, he is not in London. He is here only. So, nayuktam darshanam gatva. And when he sees, say, London is such a short time. Last time we gave the span of the dream. At best, it may be only 3 minutes, not more than that. Any dream you take, that recently they have concluded. So, within 3 minutes, nobody can go to London and come back. Arey, what talk London? We cannot go to the seashore within 3 minutes and come back. So the span is very less. Pratibudhisya vai sarvas tasmin desena vidyate. And if he goes there, after waking up, we should see him there. That also is not there. This is now, he is taking only the illustration of dream. But what he want to tell, that subcommentator will be telling. It is not reasonable to say objects in dream are seen actually going to them, since it runs counter to the regulation of time that is needed for the journey. Further, none when awake remains in the place of dream. Now he says, in dream there is no going over to a different land. Since there is no regulation in dream with regard to the time, span of time is very less. Time needed for coming and going, as fixed in the waking state, in due consideration of the distance to be covered. So he is not going there and coming, and he is not waking up there. That's why what you say, dream is unreal. Now he will be taking the illustration of the dream. And what he is going to tell, that subcommentator will tell. Waking state is unreal. That is explained again. In dream, to go to other place is not sufficient, is not there. Like that, after death, going through the path leading by gods, Achiradi Marga. So, after death, going to Brahmaloka, etc., to see Brahman is also not correct. Now you are telling here dream. Going to some place and coming back is not real. But now how far he has jumped, you see. After death, you say, I go by Devayana Marga to Brahmaloka, and I will enjoy there. I will see the Brahman. That also is unreal as the dream. See? There, that's why here only one Atman, it is homogeneous, it is all-pervading, in that nothing is there. No Brahmaloka, no Brahma, not our own self, not your own self. Nothing is there. Only one thing is there. That he wanted to conclude. Because time is limited. When he sees the dream, there he is not waking. So unreal. If he says, I have seen the dream of Brahmaloka, if he says, then he should wake up there. He is not waking up there, he is waking up here only. That's why Brahmaloka also is not there, he says. He stays in the waking, so unreal. And if he says that in the dream I had been to Brahmaloka, but seeing the dream, he can never take the form of Brahman after waking up. That is why that is also unreal, he says. Actually, one thing, only one Atman is there, in that nothing is there. Pratibuddhasya. चार कहाँ गया? मित्रा जैसा समन्त्य संबुद्धौ न प्रपद्यते गृहीतं चापि यत्किंचित् प्रतिबुद्धो न पश्यति. In dream, what has been discussed with friends and others and scheduled is not restored to when we awake. Whatsoever is acquired in dream too is not seen then awake, when awake. So, in the dream, he is seeing that he has discussed with his friends. Then he should go to that friend, particular friend, early morning, and he should say, you see, we have discussed it like this. What is seen in the dream, that he cannot take, that he cannot do in the waking state. If he sees, say, some bundle of, say, $100, some bundle he has seen in the dream. Do you think he can bring it into the waking state? Why? He says it is unreal. In the same way, the seer who is seeing is alone is real. What is seen is not real. It is unreal. So, here that he says, even the Virat, even the Hiranyagarbha, even the Brahmaloka, nothing is there in the Atman. Why? It is homogeneous, one substance, it is all-pervading. Whatever is there, it is just superimposed. So, now don't limit your unreality to the present world. You have to expand the unreality to the Virat, to Hiranyagarbha, to Brahmaloka, Vishnu Loka. Nothing is there. Only I is there, that is yourself. The sub-commentary will do for this afterwards. Good discussion. Otherwise, you see, that if this much of discrimination is not there, very difficult to meditate. Everybody will be running behind, just like behind the mind. We also will be running behind the mind. In 1980, so Harir Tirthji Maharaj was there, and two saints. So both of them, they studied under him this Mandukya Karika, and they got so much of inspiration. So simply left the ashram and went to Uttarkashi. And in Uttarkashi, both of them fell sick. One has got pleurosis, that water in the lungs. Pleurosis they call, water in the lungs. And another has got asthma, so they have to come back. So if you are having renunciation, you do more practices here itself. Why do you run here and there? So, thinking that I will be more beneficial if I go to somewhere, it may prove wrong. That's why whatever you study, try to practice where you are there only. Otherwise, if you think, oh, there I can practice more, here I can practice, your mind is there wherever you go. Try to control mind here itself. Why do you run here and there? That's Om Bhadram Karane